Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Some QBs run, some QBs pass, some are just all there for vibes. Welcome to 2025 QB Rankings. Yo! What's good, everybody? Here we are, back for another episode of Too Much Fantasy Football. It's Brian, my partner in crime, Brennen. How are we doing today?
Oh, just enjoy watching you do takes on intros. It's just so much fun.
Look, the cold open's probably the hardest part. So sure, I'm going to take 4, 5, 6 attempts at it, but we bring the perfect one to the people.
That is true. You do bring the perfect one. If only they could see the others.
Yeah, thank God I can edit. But yeah, welcome in, folks. We thank you for listening on your podcast app that you're listening to, or YouTube, or the radio there in West Tennessee. But today is the QB rankings. We got to bring in a guest, and of course, we had to have one of the best to do it come in here. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is a podcast. He has so many appearances, you might as well call him Taysom Hill. He's a professor on the Best Ball Night School podcast and a co-host on the Dynasty Pulse, where the heartbeat, it keeps your roster always monitored. He works for Player Profiler, moonlights with the Undroppables, and somehow he still hangs out with us degenerates here at the Fantasy Football Advice Network. If fantasy football had a coaching staff, this guy would be offensive coordinator, the strength ghost, and probably the one telling you to go a little faster during the drills. Give it up for the multitasking maestro of the mic. It's Coach. Coach Retzlaff, how are we doing tonight?
Hey, Robert De Niro. You talking to me? Hey, how we doing? Dude, thank you. What a great intro, man. Love it. Love to be here. Appreciate it.
If I can get through the stumbling of the words, I think we can make this happen tonight. And of course, folks, get ready because Brennan's going to be throwing them all at me. I'm sure that's not the last joke he's going to be making.
I would never.
But yeah, like we said, we are going through, well, hopefully we can get through 24 quarterbacks. We're going to go top to bottom. We've all got our rankings here. And we're going to talk about just where these quarterbacks align. And folks, we're in for a doozy here because we've got a few discrepancies, a handful of close, but I mean, do we really have a consensus top one here? Coach, let's go with you. You've got Jayden Daniels sitting there at number 1. And as Brennen and I don't quite have him number 1, I would say he's in a tier 1 for me. So give us that first guy for you.
Right, we're in that clump. It's essentially Daniels, Allen, Lamar Jackson. It replicates our dynasty market, and dynasty replicates our redraft market. They inform each other. Best ball, of course. In fantasy football, if you're not early, you're late. Last year, if you weren't early on Jayden Daniels, right now you're late. You still have an opportunity to jump on that train this year as your QB1. Beauty is, though, if you follow the market, instead of underdog round 3 for Josh Allen, you can still get Jayden Daniels in round 4. So we're talking, don't reach. You don't have to reach. You can still value somebody higher while still respecting the ADP, playing to the market. Jayden Daniels last year, QB5 in 21.5 fantasy points per game, 3rd in best ball points added, 4th in fantasy points per drop back, 2nd in expected fantasy points per game at 20.3. These are player profiler stats. 3rd in QBR. For me, what's interesting with Jayden Daniels, he's a dart thrower first, epic rusher, 2nd in carries and red zone carries last year, 2nd in rushing yards to Lamar Jackson, 891, 6 rushing touchdowns. Cool thing about Jayden Daniels, 52.4 rushing yards per game. You can set and forget. That's 5 fantasy points for you. Let's say he has a 10-yard rush for a touchdown. That's another 7. That's 12 points baked in if I did my math correctly. I was a PE teacher, not a math teacher, but boom, upside already baked in there. What do you fellas think of that? And what would you juxtapose? What's your argument for Josh Allen versus Jayden Daniels, like I said?
Josh Allen has consistently been a top performer, and Brennen, that's who you got at your number 1. So where's your difference maker with him over Jayden Daniels right now?
I mean, it's like you can literally assemble these guys. You can put Jalen Hurts at 1, Lamar at 1. I really wouldn't like sit there and make a big debate. Like these guys are clumped in that group as 1, So for me, it's just like, in order to be the king, you got to beat the king. And Josh Allen has been the king for fantasy quarterback ever since his third year. He's been QB 1, 2, 1. I think last year you finished as 2 or 1, if I'm not mistaken.
He was 4 last year.
4. Okay.
MVP. He was MVP.
Exactly.
Right?
And the MVP. So I think, again, it's just like these 4 are just special just because, especially if you play in a league where you still only do 4 points throwing, they're even more valuable. So I clumped those even to a better category. I think they're a little more valuable in that aspect. But again, I just think you can't go wrong. I like Josh Allen. They did more they didn't really get him an X receiver, so he's still going to be doing it on the ground. James Cook situation, Ray Davis, everybody out there. I just like his situation just a little bit more than anybody else.
It's hard to argue against it. I guess I just consistently cannot put him at number 1. I guess it's me trying to go against the grain a little bit, try to be a little bit more creative. But end of the day, these guys, like we said, it's all in a tier 1 together. I've actually got Lamar at number 1 for me. And when you look at his stats, he had 41 passing touchdowns last year. We cannot expect him to replicate that. Not in this offense, not with Derrick Henry. I'm not saying it's not possible, but that's so hard to rely on a guy that uses his legs. He also had 900 yards on the ground. And yet I still can't pull him from my number 1. So, yeah, it's all within my tier 1 here, but I've just got to have Lamar there. There's just so much talent on this team. This defense continues to get better because that seems to be their main focus in the draft. So, I mean, now that they don't have a kicker, they're going to be relying on somebody to really pass the ball more.
Yeah, 4th and 1, you got to run.
No more Justin Tucker. He's looking for a new spot, I hear. Maybe in Cleveland. They've got a reputation there.
Now, question, gentlemen. Any concern about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson? And you can queue up Jayden Daniels as well. Those 3 at the top for their health. And one thing I want to point out in a little bit of research I was looking at, Josh Allen, this really popped out to me. 17 games played, 4 straight seasons. Who does he think he is? Najee Harris? Pretty interesting to me. What do you think about health-wise? Any risk there? Or are you just like, hey, caution with the wind?
That dude's built like a Mack truck.
Yeah, the only injuries that concern me are hamstrings. When a guy pulls a hamstring, then I'm concerned. Anything else is just an abnormality for me.
Yeah, because at this point, I mean, they still refuse to aggressively address the wide receiver room. We got a little Elijah Moore love coming in this year, but I mean, it's only going to be so much that he's going to be able to perform.
Yeah, don't tell Billy Bean that though.
Joe Burrow, coach, you got him as your 5th. He was kind of going to jump into this next tier. I've got him at 6. Brennen, you got him at 8. Is it that fear of being able to replicate that just immense offense? The defense, they spent quite a few picks on the defense this year, so hopefully they're not going to be bleeding 40 points a game. But why so low, Brennen?
I think it's just more so the fact that is he really going to throw as many touchdowns as he did last year? I don't think so. I think they did try to address the draft, situation. I didn't really like Shamar Stewart as a prospect, but they went heavy on defense as they should have in this draft. I just think other teams did a little bit better to help their guys out. The guys that are ahead of them, it's not like it's their slacks by any means. I think I have Caleb Williams ahead of him, which, I mean, if you saw Chicago, I like Ben Johnson. I think he can take a next big step. I like Pat. I like, obviously everyone here loves Mahomes. And then I think I have Baker ahead of him too. And all those teams did, essentially a lot to help their guys out. So it's just, am I going to be surprised if Joe finishes 5 and Patrick finishes 8? No, but I just think the way this offseason went, I think I can just see Joe Burrow not take a step back, but just not be this fantasy guru that we all expect him to be.
That's a great point. And if you do this exercise from last year, ready? CJ Stroud was in this spot round 5. Joe Burrow was over there in round 9. Now CJ Stroud is round 11. Joe Burrow is at that 4-5 turn on underdog. So it's very, very close to what we were at last year. Both quarterbacks have to run pure on passing. So to your point, Brennen, I can see where you would be bearish. And it's very smart. Unless Joe Burrow hits the metrics that he did last year, first in QBR, first in passing yards and pass attempts, the question is, and I think Brennen is respectfully asking that question with some skepticism, can Joe Burrow run pure on the passing game again in 2025? Because early career Joe Burrow, we remember he could get you 40 yards, maybe fall into the end zone, and then you got 10 points rushing. That went away. It was a very brief window in his early part of his career Remember, he had that in his bag from LSU, but that's all gone. So I can see where if you're just looking at pocket passing, especially in 4-point passing touchdowns, Joe Burrow, there's a bearish case to be made where it's not sacrilege because this time last year, CJ Stroud, it was moon status, Tank Down Nico, and you add Stephon Diggs, compressed ADP for all three of those. Who are you going to get? Joe Mixon, even. And it was like, hey, CJ Stroud is in that upper echelon, took a dive. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But yeah, I like what you're saying. I granted, I have, and Brian, we have Burrow higher, but the bearish case that Brennen talks about, it's there.
I think for me too is that the other guys that are in front of him, they also just scramble a little bit more. Like Mahomes, obviously we see it all the time. He can move. Baker is really good at scrambling too for the tough yards. And same with Caleb. Caleb's also a good scrambler. Like I'm not saying Joe Burrow can't scramble. I'm just saying we don't see that as much too. So I think it's just more, I added a little bit more of the attempts of the yards as well. So as you pointed out, Coach.
That's the interesting thing here is I have him ranked. I've got him at 6 in my rankings. But my exposure to him this year in redraft will probably be next to none because I don't get that rushing upside. I may believe that he can finish there. I don't want to take that risk of where his ADP is. The combination of the lack of rushing, you're banking on the yards and the touchdowns coming from him, and the price. If I'm not getting that X factor rushing ability, I'm taking a quarterback late. I'm taking one in the mid to late rounds just because it mitigates so much of that risk that you do get with those guys. Let's talk about a guy who has a little bit more of that rushing in his bag, and he just got another first-round piece added to it. It's Baker Mayfield. Coach, you got him at 6. I got him at 5. Brennen, you got him at 6. Seems to be a consensus. He's going to be a top-end quarterback this year. Jumping off the page, it's got to be the weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a look. I take it as Chris Godwin and Mike Evans on the forefront, Jalen McMillan and Ibuka on the back burner. You still have Cade Otton. 6 out of 14 games, tight end 11 or better was Cade Otton. Evans and Godwin, you have some insurance from an injury standpoint where Ibuka can come onto the scene healthy immediately. Jalen McMillan, not dead yet, but he's dead in our redraft element. You want more a best ball there. And I would say Baker Mayfield last year, he souped up Matthew Stafford. 4,500 passing yards on the nose, was third, second in touchdown passes with 41. I love Baker Mayfield. He just gets there, and then he does have some of that rushing upside, a little bit of movability, a little bit more juice than somebody like Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, nearly 400 yards rushing and then 3 rushing touchdowns to add to his 41 passing touchdowns. So it seems like a great situation. And the trend is he loses his OC every year. He's got a new one. So that must just be the secret sauce there in Tampa.
Yeah, for me, I think it's pretty simple. Like you just look at the stats alone, and then like the first round, I was thinking like, oh, they'll go defense, and then they take a Mecca Buka. I'm like, oh man, they are fully committed to Baker. That's his guy. Yeah, exactly. Drooling over there a little bit there, Brian. But yeah, no, seriously. I think when you watch his tape and everything else like that, it was like, yeah, his guy's going to be a Robert Woods for 10 years. So now you add him with Baker, who's just been a great quarterback. Like it's just a great room. And so I have no issues with if you take Baker and you think that he could be a top 5 quarterback, I'm not going to argue against it because he finished as a QB1, I think like how many times last year? Like 3 or 4 times? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, quite the stud he was. Another guy who should be a stud, and I mean he's probably high up on the list as far as draft day winners. This guy has to be number 1 as far as offseason wins because it wasn't just the tools that they added in the draft between Loveland and Luther Burden. It was the 3 offensive linemen, the studs that they brought in to improve the fact that he doesn't have to go out there and be Superman. Because Caleb Williams just couldn't be Superman. Despite how bad the team was, he isn't good enough to offset that. And that's okay. We don't need that, especially when you bring in an offensive mind like Ben Johnson and this offensive line now, all these weapons. Across the board, we've got him as a top-end guy, 7 and 8 between the 3 of us. It seems like the hype is there. You're not getting a discount on his price, but are you willing to pay it?
I mean, I am. I like Ben Johnson as offensive play caller. He has DJ Moore. He has Roma Dunze. They went back-to-back first and second round picks with Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, and they invested heavily in the offensive line. Like they did everything in their power to basically say, like, Caleb, we have given you literally everything. Make it happen. And you watch his tape at USC and Oklahoma for that matter, and you can see it. And like I watched him play this year. Like that offensive line just crumbled at any second he dropped back. So I think he's going to actually show what he did at USC this year. So like I'm going to gamble on it. There's the upside for him.
Man, I love it. They gave him the keys, and Caleb Williams, he's a streaky player. He's a streaky thrower. But you pointed out, Brennen, wisely, astutely, to all the additions. They rehauled the offensive line. DJ Moore, still only 28 years old. Some people are reticent on DJ Moore. They think maybe this is signs that he's out. But until that happens, it's DJ Moore. Caleb, last year, 7th in pass attempts, 1st in deep ball attempts, 8th in pace of play, 7th in rushing yards, 483. He can move. The issue with Caleb, where I would like to see improvement, his play action and red zone completion percentage in the low 50s. His clean pocket was somewhere in the 60s. So there's something to the fact that it's processing, right? Well, that's just rookie growth. And what's funny, we have Daniels, May, Caleb Williams, of course, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy. But a lot of people will say, hey, we had Caleb up here. Jayden Daniels is in this other stratosphere. And they can't separate the fact that we can be massively bullish on Jayden Daniels while being immensely bullish on a huge rise from Caleb Williams. It's just that we don't think necessarily Caleb Williams gets up to Jayden Daniels, but both can be true where you're massively bullish and in. I think you got to pay up that price to what you're saying, Brian. Are you paying that price?
I'm going to have to dabble. I may not have a huge exposure to him, but I have to have a taste. I want to be a part of this offense. And like you said, it's kind of a mess as far as the pass catchers go. So the easiest thing to do, take the guy who's throwing it to him. If you cannot decide which wide receiver or tight end you want to dive in on, yeah, just go with the pass catcher or the pass thrower. And it's going to win you 9 times out of 10. All right, let's go to, you kind of alluded to CJ Stroud there a little bit. Got a super, great first year, all the hype going into the offseason. And in year 2, it fell flat. Bo Nix, are we setting ourselves up for failure there again with another, first or second year quarterback? Did great in his first year. I guess what's the difference that sets him apart that we're willing to still put him in that high up in rankings?
It's the rushing upside.
Yeah.
It's purely the rushing upside, man. Like, we saw him at Oregon. He was kind of dinking and dunking his way through college, but like all of a sudden he just has wheels now. And like, cause I watched plenty of Oregon games and I was like, he can move, but like, I never saw him move like that. So it's kind of crazy to be like, okay, he's going to get you 40 yards a game, maybe a touchdown in there. That's a huge swing in points. And so like, you have to respect Sean Payton a little bit as a play caller. He will put his quarterback in the right position to always be successful. I wasn't a huge fan of RJ Harvey and Bryant with their draft picks, but again, like that 2nd and 3rd round draft capital, they did invest into him. So like, I have Cortland Sutton still there. I still think he's the primary target. So like, I like it. I think obviously we saw what he did with his rookie year. I mean, will he have a sophomore slump? Maybe. Like, I just don't. I think he's still like a very back end QB1.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, if there is a slump, it's closer to QB 12 than it is QB 16. I don't see him falling out that low. Like you said, there's tons of support that they brought in for this kid.
Yeah, you love it. And it's RJ Harvey, it's Evan Ingram. And then you're saying, okay, what's going on, Sean Payton? Do you need to be tested? The NFL has a drug policy. Like, do you need to be tested for drafting Pat Bryant in round 3? Well, caution to the wind, everything Sean Payton has done up to this point in Denver, when he said, hey, I did all my mind games to go get Bo Nix, and we were like, look, man, nobody else was going to go get him. It's okay. But it still worked. It's kind of like that guy. You're in that dynasty league, and somebody reaches, and it just works out because that player can really finesse on draft evaluation, maybe a little bit of luck. But Sean Payton has shown us what he can do. And the neat thing that I think is slowly happening for Sean Payton, which we're seeing unfold in Bo Nix's career to the point where it's like, hey, no sophomore slump, is that Sean Payton is not just a one-hit wonder. We saw what he did under Bill Parcells in Dallas. We've seen what he did for just a generation, right, with the Saints. And now all of a sudden, this is just like another, not even a curtain call, but just another act that we're seeing where Sean Payton is just bona fide, like, man, this guy's been worth his weight in gold, where maybe that first Russell Wilson season, we were very weary on that. So the tide is turning. So, hey, he goes and gets Pat Bryant. Fine, cool, have it. we love what he did with Evan Ingram being signed, and you love what happened with it, RJ Harvey. So going to trust that. And to the point of Cortland Sutton, 8th-year breakout for a second time, bring it. Going into 29, age 30 season, pump it up again. And of course, you have Marvin Mims. Look what he did. So get him on your best ball teams.
Dude, I've been hurt so much by Marvin Mims or by Sean Payton. I just want him to be successful out there. Go out there and kick some booty. Maybe not. Maybe just like you said, best ball player. Let's stay in the West, but we're gonna hit some discrepancies here finally as we come down this board a little bit. Let's talk some Kyler Murray. Coach, you got him at 8. I've got him at 13. Brennen at 10. Give me the bull case for him there, fellas.
I mean, again, it just comes to like Atlanta. Arizona. I like Arizona's position. I mean, like James Conner's this lead back. They're a run first team. Kyler does run the ball still. I expect Marvin Harrison to take a big jump. I expect him to be the guy we all thought he was going to be out of Ohio State. I had Trey McBride, again, a solidified number 2. It's just one of those things where like I can just see him just sneakily get anywhere from like 18 to 20 points a game. And that's where it's like, that's his average. And like, I don't ever see him having like a huge game of 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, but his floor is just too safe to be like, yeah, if I punt it on quarterback, I can rely on Kyler Murray to be my quarterback.
Do you want to go, Brian, or do you want to rain on our parade after we go bullish?
Go ahead. I'll bring the thunder and the lightning after.
All right, so we can cry after this, but let's be happy now in the moment. QB1 all 6 seasons is Kyler Murray in fantasy points per game, 24th in team pass plays per game last year. So Brennen kind of mentioned like maybe not high volume on the touchdown passing based on the volume of passing. Maybe that'll change, but also 9th in pass attempts. I don't know how that works. I would love to see Kyler Murray increase in running the ball more. This is insane when I read this. 4.6 carries per game. And I know Kyler kind of mentioned he wants to run more in 2025, or that could be fiction based on what I said in my brain because I want it to happen, but I'm going to manifest it anyways. But only those 4.6 carries per game. Meanwhile, 4th in QB rushing at 572. So what are we doing, man? Like double that up to 8 attempts per game, Kyler? Can you do that for us? And I'm not saying he would lead the league in rushing, but he could be 2nd or 3rd behind Lamar and Jayden Daniels maybe again. So we could get a huge bounce back there. Don't love the fact, it's like Michael Scott. Nope, don't like that. We got nobody on the opposite side of Marvin Harrison Jr. or wide receiver 1, Trey McBride. But I really love, Michael Wilson, sure, in those best ball streets. But week in, week out, give me Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. Trey McBride will score double-digit touchdowns this year. And Kyler Murray, I think off the rip, QB9 last year. So give me top 5 upside. I'm ready to get hurt again. So Brian, you let us know.
Oh, man, see, I'm already looking at my rankings. I'm like, and this is where the rankings got rough. I adjusted like 8 to 16 like 10 different times today. I haven't fully done my projections out, but like just swapping all these players. But it's not necessarily my faith in Kyler Murray that it is what it is. You just brought up Trey McBride's touchdowns. We didn't get a touchdown, a passing or a receiving touchdown for Trey McBride until the end of the season. Had we fixed that, that's just that many more, 6, 7, 8 more touchdowns to Kyler that could play it out. He had one of the top end of the yards for it. So I think the talent is there. We got 6 top 10 finishes from him. But what you also got was the backside of that. These QB 20 finishes, QB 23 finishes, QB 24. So it's not necessarily my faith in Kyler. It's more of the offensive system. I did not see the creativity and the gusto that you want to see in an offense. Like, this is a defensive-minded head coach. So, it falls on the OC that he has there. So if we can get a little bit more creativity in the offense, a little bit more fire there, I'm all down for it. I think the possibility is there. But I also keep getting burned on the little guy, when all I do is rank him as my QB7 and he doesn't quite get there because of the consistency, because that's what people remember. All I hear is, oh, Kyler this, Kyler that, it's so bad, because you were just happy with those 6 games. You wanted those top 10 finishes multiple times. So I think that's where my hesitancy is again. So once we get to August, I might, I already told myself I'd pull back on Kyle Pitts, and Brennen keeps sending me propaganda on that guy where I'm like, oh crap, maybe he's going to be top 10 for me, top 8. So
Hey,
Hey,
your
I'm
offensive
in
coordinator
on
just
Kyle
said he's
Pitts.
gonna have a
I'm
big
in on
year.
Kyle Pitts. I probably need to get drug tested too. So
coach,
it,
don't do this to me. I need
we're
people to
safe.
get
We're
me off
safe.
the ledge. I
Yeah,
am
we're
ready
just
to dive
enabling it
in.
here. Yep.
Because I mean, hell, the Tyler Warren drafting for the Colts, clearly we're not making a trade for Kyle Pitts, so I gotta close that one up. But Kyler Murray, the talent is there, and the per game basis we might be able to get it. But yeah, for me, I've got him a bit lower than I probably should.
Mm.
Next up, let's go to Justin Fields. Talk about a polarizing player. One that I can't put any lower than I have him. This is one of those guys I kept wanting to push lower, but no, we've got him 10, 10, and 11 here. And the kid is just, he doesn't really have anybody behind him. Their potential backup quarterback, Jordan Travis, just retired. So it's him and Tyrod Taylor back there. And look, I was a huge Tyrod fan for the longest time, but age is caught up to him. So he is securely the backup. Fields will be out there as long as he can, as far as health goes. So how do you can't put him any lower? Just the rushing upside, that alone, and he's tied up with his teammate from Ohio State. He's got Garrett Wilson with him.
I mean, you said it already. Like the Jets didn't invest in any quarterback. They have no other backup plans. They are literally letting this thing ride out, whether it's for the best or for the worst, which we think it's going to be for the worst. And they'll probably have another top pick and take a quarterback next year. But whenever he plays, all it is just he finishes his QB1. Why? It's because he rushes so much. Now, is he an accurate quarterback? Not so much. I mean, but again, like I will take the 70 yards for a rushing touchdown with a possibility of throwing 150 yards and a touchdown, maybe 2 interceptions, whatever the case may be. But that ends up being QB 11 for the week. And it's just one of those things where like, and maybe it does work out with him and Garrett Wilson, because they did really, I mean, when he was at Ohio State, I mean, granted there it's a wide receiver university. It's just tough when you look at guys that are next to him. It's like, do I want Jared Goff or do I want Justin Fields? It's like, well, Justin Fields can be QB1 for the week. Just Jared Goff might, do it once, but I've seen Justin Fields do it a couple times. And that's why it's just, we're going to be polarized by the fact it's like, we know he's just going to rush the ball. And with him, Breece Hall in that backfield, we just know that he could take off for an 80-yard touchdown at any point.
Yeah, a guy who started just 6 games last year. He was the QB6 when they pulled him. When it was time for Russ to go out there, he was the QB6, Justin Fields was. He gave you 3 top 10 finishes, including a number 7 and a number 1 finish on the week. So it's hard to pull away from there. I think your biggest fear with Justin Fields is always, when do they pull him out of the game and put in the next quarterback? And if they don't have an option, they're going to have to roll with him.
Hey, you make a really great point about Tyrod Taylor, because Tyrod Taylor, great in any QB on a 53 super flex. If you don't have that second quarterback spot really locked down, you're stashing everybody you can, kind of like a high upside backup running back. And utility of runners at the quarterback position, you can get that for Fields for Tyrod Taylor. That's just a subtle note. This is kind of like Bug's Life, where you're that bug and that light is so bright, and you just are okay with maybe getting zapped because it just is so appealing. And Justin Fields, it's funny, we have him parked in the same spot, basically because I think it's just an acknowledgement of, hey, as we're fishing, we can reel in top 5 upside every single week, but kind of have them in that 9-10 range because things can go flat to a degree. Last year, 5-2 was steering the ship, but it did kind of seem like, from a real football perspective, things weren't directionally going where they should, ironically. So then you still had that fantasy goodness in a 4-point passing touchdown league. Give me some Justin Fields. Give me that upside. It's worth the risk. You just don't have security for it, and you have to be willing to do that. Last year you didn't have security. This year you have sort of some, but it's really kind of fake. I would just say, Garrett Wilson, I'm bought in on one-itis. One-itis on somebody like Justin Fields. Fields is not developed enough where it's like, hey, he can support 2, 3, and 4 different players. There's different quarterbacks who have that depth, who we'll get to a little bit later, right? Where they can support multiple weapons. Justin Fields, you're just keying in on one-itis with Garrett Wilson, who has increased his reception total all 3 seasons, 101 last year. Great, Tony the Tiger. And you just hope you get that and running, and then maybe some cohesion with Breece Hall. And if it could triangulate that way for the Jets offense, we don't care about the New York Jets. one iota. We just want to see that.
Next up, we've got Brock Purdy. Coach got him at 11. I've got him at 9. Brennen at 13. Now, schedule as of this show has not released, but we know the strength of the schedule as it's building up. You know, if you buy into that algorithm. And the Niners, because they did so poorly last year, 4th in their division, they are projected right now to have the easiest schedule in the NFL. You pair that with Brock Purdy, who looked great at the first half of the year with the amount of rushing he had, Ricky Pearsall coming into year 2, the growth of Juwan Jennings, and maybe Brandon Ayuk gets back onto the scale there. I can't have this guy out of my top 10. I have Brock Purdy high enough where, like I said, there's just enough running to add to his passing ability where I'm willing to take the risk up by.
Any fear that he won't hit on the passing, because it's the rushing upside isn't there. So any fear that he's not going to be efficient as a passer.
And Shanahan's offense, we've seen countless quarterbacks that don't even have jobs anymore that have put up great fantasy numbers. So it's hard for me to pull away. Like, I like to hang my hat when players I'm not sure. Let me hang them on great coaching, great teams, great offensive mindsets, and that's kind of what I'm doing here in this situation.
What do you think, Brennan?
I think for me, it's just like I look at the guys that like I have like slate ahead of him. Like I think I have Herbert just like a slot ahead of him, but I also like what the Chargers did this offseason. They actually went and they got Trey Harris. I like him as a prospect. I think he's got a nice running mate with Ladd. I mean, Amari Hampton was a great pick for him. For me, it's more so the fact that like Brock Purdy doesn't scream upside for me. Like he always, I feel like he finishes like right there, like QB 10. I've seen some weeks where he's been like QB 5, but I've seen other guys that are behind him finish as QB 1. I think for me, he's just very much a safe pick. Like there's just no tremendous upside for me when I pick Brock Purdy.
And it's funny enough with the tiers that we have, Purdy and Goff are there back to back on underdog, 2 picks apart at the 9-10 turn. And they just seem like such similar players where it's kind of like purgatory. Like you ever watch Family Guy where they go to purgatory and they're like, this isn't so great. It's not so bad. It's not so great. You know, you're just kind of in this middle. Yeah, there's no kind of like boom upside like we talked to at the first tier, right?
Yeah, like I don't want to say it's mediocrity, but it's just like it's okay. Like I expect him to be, you know, right around 10 to 13, 10 to 15. Like I don't like if I told you Brock Purdy finishes QB5, how shocked would you be on a scale of 1 to 10?
7, 8.
Yeah. Like
7,
but if I told you Justin Herbert finishes top 5 quarterback, how shocked would you be really?
No. I'm trying to pull myself back from the Justin Herbert hype. That's where I'm at with it. It's just like I would be tremendously shocked if he finishes that high. Well, you brought up Jared Goff here, and we got another pretty big discrepancy here. QB 13 on Underdog's rankings. Coach, you're right there at 12. Brennen and I, we're not quite there. I got him 20. He's got him 17. Give me I guess we know the case for Jared Goff. We've seen it the last several years. Yep. Are you not afraid of the Ben Johnson leaving? It's not going to be a change in offensive scheme, but the play calling is going to be different.
Well, Brennan did kind of make a point too, like, hey, it would be insanely surprising, right, to Brock Purdy to being quarterback 5 next year. And we I liken Goff and Purdy, but ironically, last year, Jared Goff was, and don't say Jared Goff too fast, too many times in a row, he was QB6 last year in 2024. So that's crazy. Jared Goff ran pure on passing. So to get to that point for Brock Purdy, you really have to run pure immensely on passing. You made the great point, salient, about losing Ben Johnson as OC. And you still have, though, the 2 first-round talents, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now take Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, and David Montgomery as a support. Like, they're the secondary tier, right? On so many other teams, that's other teams' number 1 repertoire of weapons. And Jared Goff just has Laporta, J-Mo, and David Montgomery. All last year on my Monday night shows where you do the recap, right? You're just looking at the top QBs, running backs, receivers, tight ends, all across. The amount of weeks where Gibbs, Laporta, J-Mo, and of course Amon-Ra and Gibbs live up there the most. But they're filling out the top 3 to 5 spots. And guess who gets stacked with them? It's Jared Goff. So I can see it a little bit better for Jared Goff than somebody like Brock Purdy, but they are kind of in that zone where you could see if there was a layoff, there was a foot off the gas, where Jared Goff, to your point, you gentlemen have 17 and 20, he could fall way down in that range. It's a little bit like a cheaper version of the CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow conversation we had between the rounds 5s, round 10, flip-flopping back and forth.
And end of the day, he's just not sexy. I want some sexiness on my roster, usually at the quarterback position. So Jared,
Ryan
I'm sorry,
Gosling's twin. What?
I mean, I'm more of a I was going to say Ryan Reynolds, but with all the heat on him right now, maybe that won't be the Ryan I pick.
And Brian, you've got him. You've got him. There's not too much Goff for you because he's 20. Number 20.
Yeah, I've got him at 20. It's the 20 is probably not fair for him to say. I probably should put him in more that tier of 15 to 20. I could see him being up in there. When we get to this point, it's a few points that separate a lot of these quarterbacks.
Right. Is part of that just your sentiment? Do you think as well, Brennan, you have him at 17. This is Jared Goff we're talking about. Do you kind of have part of that is that a little bit of a psyche into the sentiment of how you might find yourself drafting, where you're not going to have any Jared Goff on your teams?
Yeah, probably not. I just think I have Trevor Lawrence ahead of him, right? Trevor Lawrence has not been good, but we've seen at his peak, he can be a QB1. And with them getting Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., and I like Liam Cohen as a play caller, it's just like, I just think they're the more upside. Like if you told me Jared Goff finishes a QB, 1, I wouldn't be shocked. But Trevor Lawrence to me just has a little bit of upsides. I'm always gonna play to win. And if I'm lose, I'll be 12th. That's fine. I will be the Sacco, but I'd rather go for the win. And I just think Trevor Lawrence and a couple guys ahead of him just give you that better oomph to win.
Man, you make a great point about Trevor Lawrence because now I'm sitting here kind of debating, and I can absolutely see where we could flip because I really like what you're saying about Trevor Lawrence. So as I'm actively looking, I'm like, something might need to change. To your point,
yeah.
Well, let's dive into Trevor Lawrence a little bit. We've got a lot of these QB2s. We'll see if we can lightning round these as best we can. But Trevor Lawrence, I've got him at 12, Brennen at 15, Coach at 16. For me, this was a guy I had to get in my top 12 right now. Before my rankings are fully done, I want to be able to say he's a QB1. The addition of Travis Hunter, the addition of Liam Cohen and his offense, we make excuses left for right for Trevor Lawrence. They're kind of valid. Urban Meyer, first year, we got to nix it. Peterson did great year 2, but then last year, just the last 2 years, it hasn't been as pretty as we really wanted. I think this is finally an offensive system where he can thrive and we can get a 40 touchdown season with him. And he also has got the rushing ability. So I really like Trevor Lawrence going into the season.
Yeah, no, I think the upside is tremendous with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's got, I viewed Travis Hunter as the best wide receiver in this draft class. If he was in last year's draft class, I've said it, he would have probably gone ahead of Roma Dunze as just a wide receiver alone. I think having him and Brian Thomas Jr., he has the high, if I would not be shocked if you said Trevor Lawrence finishes as QB5 this year, I honestly wouldn't be shocked. So I think I need to find a way to move him up a little bit, but it's tough.
Well,
Cohen did it with Baker.
Yeah.
If you get him as QB12, you're in that stratosphere where you're drafting him at 12 and you're getting him versus the field. And then if he pays up off to 5, he pays off big for you, right, Brennan?
Exactly.
Yeah, his ADP's already moved up from 20 to 18 since the draft. So I'm a little nervous that his discount, that's another great part about him is the discount. Coach, tell us about CJ Stroud. Right now you have him the highest. You've got him at 13, me at 19, Brennan at 18. Tell us why you're ready for that bounce back for CJ this year.
Yeah, we're way back up. And the beauty is you get across from Nico Collins, you get Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. You have across the middle still Christian Kirk, enhanced a little bit on the offensive line. Granted, they had some moves that weren't good with the trade with Washington. So there's some recovery there. And then, of course, you have Woody Marks. I'm a huge fan of Woody Marks out of the backfield. Joe Mixon, not dead yet, but really a bad last month of the season. So I'll be curious to see how the Texans keep Joe Mixon fresh. The way I look at Stroud is last year, to get all his weapons, they were all clumped up together, right? In that 2, 3, 4, even 5 range. It was Nico, Diggs, Dell, Joe Mixon. And then you had to still pay up with CJ Stroud. Now you don't have to pay that. That price has repressed. And you can accordion out and chop it up and snag along the way all throughout the rounds of your underdog best ball drafts, all throughout your dynasty startups, these Texans players. And the beauty is a rising tide lifts all boats. I think you might have been talking about Baker Mayfield, and there's some other quarterbacks who have bullish outcomes where who do you figure out for what player it is? The Bears, same thing. If it's chopped too much, just go with the quarterback. And I think what you can do here is go with CJ Stroud. So I'm all the way back, built on that. CJ Stroud, QB 13. It's a bounce back for me, but the beauty is we don't have to pay ceiling price. So hopefully it can come to this point time next year where CJ Stroud is back in that maybe Joe Burrow range for a redraft, and then he's once again overpriced, right? We're playing just a price game there. So that's where I sit on CJ Stroud. What do you guys have on him?
He just doesn't run. It's just not sexy for me. Maybe it's the Colts bias too.
No, for me, it's like I think they did everything right. I think they invested heavily into him. I was honestly shocked they went back to back, but I did like the receivers from Iowa State. I do like Higgins. I like Noel. I thought it was a great combo because I think obviously Tank Dell could be basically done with his career with the Texans, so they made sure to replace that. My biggest concern is the offensive line. That is going to be the how quickly does CJ Stroud get the ball out of his hands? Like it's gonna have to be under 2 seconds, I feel like, because they did not. I think they really wanted one of the guards in the first round. They tried to trade up for him, they couldn't do it, so they traded back, which is the right thing to do when they were at. The only problem is that offensive line is very young and it's very much not really. We don't know. You could tell me their guard is starting week 1, but their third string will be starting by week 7 just because they just have to shuffle that around so much. So like, I just think there's going to be not enough continuity in the offensive line, and Stroud is going to be a little bit frustrated with getting the ball quicker. Another thing with Stroud is that, like, if you go back and watch his playoff game against Georgia, that game, I was like, there is a reason why this guy should go number 1 overall. He was able to scramble, get out of the pocket, run. I just wish he did that more, because if you go back and watch that game, he can do that. He very much can scramble. He is quick off his feet. You saw it a little bit in the Chiefs playoff game. He had to run a little bit. I hope this new offensive play caller actually implements his legs, because he could be so deadly if he just averages, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 attempts a game. And that completely change. He's a game changer at that point.
For sure. Totally agree. If we can get him over 400 yards in the season, I think that does give him quite the boost. Brennen, you thought you were going to get out of here without having to explain it, but you're not. I need to know. I got Patty Love galore, but not in my rankings. I've got him at 15. Coach has him at 18, but you got him at 5. You're looking for that bounce back, that MVP season, those early days of Patty Mahomes. So where's the faith coming from?
I am a Patrick Mahomes stan. I to my own fault, I am a huge stan, but if there's someone that can beat Tom Brady to be the greatest of all time, it's him. So that's where I'll stay. But like, secondly, their run game is diminished. It's who is going to be their starting running back? I don't know. Is it 300-pound Kareem Hunt? Is it Isaiah Pacheco? Is it Glass Missile Elijah Mitchell? Like, I think he's going to have to throw the ball a lot, and I like his weapons this year. Travis Kelce's done. Noah Gray is actually a really good replacement. I don't think Rashee Rice is going to be suspended from everything I'm reading. I love Xavier Worthy, and I actually like Jalen Royals. So like, they have it, and I have Hollywood Brown. Like, I expect him to have over 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns passing, and almost 400 yards rushing. Like, I think I'll probably stat him out right around there. And I think at the end of the day, when you do redraft leagues, I think he'll be reached on the most. And so I'm just going to rank him accordingly.
Coach, I got to ask you here. I've got Dak Prescott at 9, Brennen at 14. You have him down at 19. We didn't get to see a full season from him. The Cowboys just got decimated across the board. But tell me, why so low? Why can't we be happier about Dak Prescott going into the season?
It's crazy. I actually think I have him where I really thought I liked him, and I might need to make him go higher. But it's kind of funny if we're bullish on the Trevor Lawrences, the Justin Herberts, maybe it's Drake May, right? at some point you jam in so many players that somebody has to fall a little bit. I really like Dak Prescott as a second quarterback in Superflex league, so I think the benefit is still there. You can get that discount on not on Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, we were just talking about him, on Dak Prescott. I really the support is not there though. A huge loser in the NFL draft. They didn't go out and get nearly anybody. They got Phil Maffa and Jaden Blue to support Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. It's the Jake Ferguson show and CeeDee Lamb, of course. I sneakily, as I was uncovering and reading this, I'm like, wait, Jake Ferguson could actually eat this year. The key path for tight end goodness and greatness, and maybe this can happen for Kyle Pitts, is being the top 2 option in your offense from a passing standpoint, right? If it could run through. So give me all the Jake Ferguson. I think I'm going to have to click the button on him. But we're talking about Dak Prescott, not far removed from being, a QB3, QB4, just 3 years ago. So I really do like him. But as I see, it looks like you guys are higher on him. So I appear and feel bullish or bearish. I need to go look back at my ranks and maybe see where I could reconcile being higher, because my sentiment, even though 19 is the number, I feel very good about Dak Prescott coming back from injury and being a quarterback that you want on your team. The rushing isn't there, so it's going to be – I like him more as that second quarterback in Superflex leagues. And, of course, best ball builds, you're going to have 2 or 3 quarterbacks anyways, but I do like Dak to bounce back this year.
Yeah, he was one as I got to like 15, 16. I saw his name. I was crap. I got to figure a way. I got to get him back up here. I got to figure a way.
He'll probably finish as like QB 14. So like I was looking at that. My question to you guys is, who is somebody outside of the top 24 you think can finish as QB like 12 or less? If you had to call your shot right now,
Matt Stafford, I feel like needs to be in this conversation right now, because if you're going to rank Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams as both top 12, potentially top 16-ish wide receivers, you have to be giving some more love to Matt Stafford. He is giving you maybe 50 yards rushing on the season. That's because he got sacked forward. That's, so you got to rely on the heavy touchdowns, but Kyron's there to catch balls. Big fan of Jarquez Hunter, him getting drafted in the 4th round, who can catch some balls too. So there's just so much possibility with him that I had to rank him low. I've got him here I got him at QB 14. He was another one. I was like, I got to find a way to get him up, because there's some hype around him that it has to get talked about a little bit here.
What about you, Coach?
So I'm torn, and maybe the two of you could help me navigate, because I don't subscribe to, you have a certain amount of quarterbacks and one of them have to be terrible or 2 of them have to be bad while only a few hit. I really like J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr., and they're very much neck and neck in where they're going in drafts. And the thing is, you have the same narrative of, you're built in shy of these London games, right, with the schedule. 9 games a year where you're in dome conditions. You're bound to get a couple good outdoor games early in the season. So the advantage from a schedule, from a fast track, is J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix. They have excellent offense and weapons around them. If you tell me, like, hey, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson are all better than London, Mooney, Pitts, sure, fine, good, all in well, but then you have the backfield combination with Algier and Bijan coming out of the backfield from Michael Penix Jr. I really love both of them, and I don't know which one could hop in, but they're very mirrored to me, to where I'm going to want a mix of McCarthy, Penix, and the Tide Vikings players and Falcons players to both quarterbacks.
I mean, for me, it's simple. I'd rather have the guy who has, I think, in my mind, a top 3 coach. It's Kevin O'Connell. So I go JJ McCarthy. That's just the only reason why, is because I trust him as an offensive play caller to get his quarterback in the right position at all times.
And it's that time of year, so that's where my mind is. And, of course, I was talking about the 49ers schedule. The Vikings did themselves they did a little bit of a disservice there, only losing 3 games last year. They've got one of the hardest schedules going into next year, so a little worry there. But again, that offensive line, it's tough. They've got some injured guys that will be back this year, some starters there at the right tackle. And then, like you said, it's KOC. He's great, absolutely amazing coach. So, yeah, J.J. McCarthy seems like one of those great, like, deep in your draft kind of shots at, hey, you might get some pretty good consistency for him early on.
Yeah. So Yeah, it's tough, right? Can you see my dilemma where I'm at with the two of them?
I feel you. And I love the shot at Michael Penix, too. Just the high-flying offense, just what they have there. It's coming from the McVay coaching tree, so you have a great opportunity at some fun 11 personnel rolling out there.
No,
Alrighty. Before we wrap it up, I want to throw a little game at you real quick. My brother called me today. He never calls me except when he needs me to be bailed out. So I had to answer it, and he goes, "Hey, Adrian Peterson played for 7 teams. Can you name it? Can you two name the 7 teams that Adrian Peterson played for?"
All right, you want to go back and forth?
Yeah. Let's do it.
What do we got?
Vikings,
Cardinals.
Commanders.
Oh man, I was gonna say Commanders. Oh, I'm scared. I'm so scared.
Lions, right?
Yep.
That's right. Saints.
Yep.
That's 5.
That's 5. You got 2 more.
Did he sign a contract with the Seahawks?
He played for the Seahawks.
That's
I
right.
did not get that one. There is one more. And this one I didn't get either.
It was I was about to say the Bills just because but I know it's not the Bills. It was
Was it within his division? His original Vikings division?
No.
Okay.
The 2 divisions. So we've got Vikings, Lions, Saints, Commanders, Seahawks, and Cardinals.
yes.
Last one's in the AFC. I'll give you that.
Did he go to New England?
Nope.
No. It wasn't the Raiders, it wasn't the Chiefs.
Don't you cheat, Brennen. I see you.
I'm
trying to
not
hide this.
cheating. I'm literally trying to I'm legitimately trying to picture him in the jersey.
He played for this team for 3 weeks.
Miami?
Weeks.
Filled in for a
No.
big bruising running back. Went out there and did some wild stuff.
Not Miami.
Nope, not Miami.
Man, I'm
It wasn't the Titans. I know it wasn't the Titans.
Yes, it was.
It was the
It
Titans.
was the
Wow.
Titans.
I forget.
He
They
played
always
for
sign like
3
he's-
weeks for the Titans. Derrick Henry pulled a hamstring, so he went in there for 3 weeks. He also played for the Seahawks that season. Completely forgot his last couple of years, the amount of teams he bounced off. But I was mind blown when I found out that dude played for 7 freaking teams.
Titans and always signing just guys that are way beyond past their prime is always.
And it's weird. Sometimes at the time, you don't see it for the player, or the player doesn't see it for themselves. Maybe a little bit of both, or it's juxtaposed where it's like all the fans see it, the player doesn't see it, and that's just hard to take.
That hurts you right here.
No.
Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough for coming to join us today, breaking down these QB tiers. Brennen, tell the folks where they can find you if they're looking for more of you.
You can find me on X at Too Much Bean Milk and then the Fantasy Football Advice Network.
Coach, what about you? If people are looking for more of your fun stuff, what they got?
Yeah, on X, Coach Retzlaff 1. You did a wonderful presentation of all the shows that I do. A lot of great things going on at our network here. So tune in to the Dynasty Pulse and keep showing up to this show. We've got too much fantasy football, and it's not a bad thing at all. Thank you, Brennen, Brian. I appreciate your time. The pleasure's been all mine, and it's an honor. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, no kidding. It's
Thank
been
you.
too much fun. You're going to find them all over here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, along with us. Stay tuned, folks. We've got running backs, wide receivers, and tight end tier rankings coming to you soon. Until next time. Later.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.